Hello and welcome to episode 4 of our podcast. And here we're going to talk about tips for choosing your executive coach. So you got me, Priya Hunt, and Sarah Leach. We are both executive coaches. So let me start with you, Sarah. Tell us a bit about you and what's your background and how did you become an expert in this field?
Well, it was a journey, as they say, as most things are. And I think it's sort of similar to you, Priya, in the sense of I've got a corporate background. So business change and transformation was my area. And then I decided to retrain as a coach to cut that story very, very short. Because I found that I was using my skills to push change on to people that didn't necessarily want it in the corporate world. And so I decided that I wanted to work in a more positive way and enable change for others that did. Hence I moved into coaching, and really I've been in coaching now for almost 15 years. Set up my own practice, and then coaches love to invest in themselves and their own personal and professional development. And I've recently got my master's in coaching for behavioral change, which I was fortunate enough to study with you, Priya, on that one. And really sort of found my niche, my way, as I've kind of explored the area of coaching. And I just love working out what makes people tick and why people do the things they do. And I've invested in myself a lot to learn the psychology of change. And that's why I enjoy and love the work that I do, really. How
Yeah.
about you, Priya? Is anything you'd add to that?
Well, very similar journeys. Again, 30 years in the corporate world and corporate leadership. And I did exactly the same as you and said at one point, this is what I wanted to do. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like we've had a very similar journey because we did the masters together as well. So yeah, that's me.
So what would you say exec coaching is?
So I see it, I mean, there are lots of definitions, but I won't talk about a definition. I see it as a partnership. Okay, a partnership with someone where if it's a partnership between you and me, for example, and I'm coaching you, then you have a desire, a goal, a challenge you're holding, and you're working with a coach to explore that, to think deeper about it. So often it is with executives. So I have a lot of clients who are the C-suite or on an exec board, but it doesn't have to be. It could be anyone in the corporate world. I even have a lot of academic clients who are interested in just having a goal, a challenge, something they're trying to overcome or something they're trying to reach, but they would like to work with somebody to deepen their thinking, to help look at it from different perspectives. And it's sort of
Mm.
an equal partnership, unlike mentorship where you're looking up to a mentor to talk to you through their experience. This is an equal partnership where, my role as a coach is to hold the mirror up and help you dive deeper, ask you some challenging questions, maybe help
Mm.
you nudge you out of that comfort zone a bit.
Mm.
And your role would be to bring that challenge, but also do something with it. It's not enough for us to have a conversation, a lovely conversation, and then you go away and nothing changes. So the change is in the hands of the person being coached as well. It can also be a three-way conversation. There is an organization or a sponsor who's
Yes.
sponsoring the coaching. So it's sort of agreeing between the coach, the client being coached, and the organization on what the expectations are. So that there is no confusion. Coaching is not mentoring. Coaching is not consulting. Coaching is not performance management.
No.
Coaching is very much a confidential, often one-to-one conversation between two people to help one of them think deeper and explore some of their challenges more. What do you think? Would you add anything to that description?
No, I think you've summarized it beautifully. I was thinking about why people might need executive coaches off the back of
Yeah,
that. And you
yeah,
use the term, thinking space. And I think that's one of the primary reasons why someone
yeah,
might need a coach. The chance to have some identified time where you
yeah,
can independently with someone who has no axe to grind, no no particular preconceptions of what the right or wrong answer is, but someone who can be completely kind of non-judgmental in that moment to sit and listen to you think
Yeah,
effectively.
yeah,
So coaching is often described as a thinking partnership, isn't it?
yeah, indeed.
And and I think so. Why you might need an executive coach is maybe you're not finding the time and space to really think about the challenges that
Mm,
you've got on your plate right now, or
mm,
even reflect on what's gone really well. Often
mm.
we think it's all about fixing our faults, but actually
Yeah,
a lot of the time it's about reflecting on, using your strengths to maximum effect. What went really
totally.
well? How can I do more of that?
Yeah,
And just you having the space to sort of review your progress so far, think about where you're going, what's next, how you might use those strengths to enable you to get there. If there are gaps, how might we plug them? Who else
yeah,
might you need to help
yeah,
you, support you?
yeah,
It gets very lonely at the top, doesn't it, sometimes, and
yeah,
you don't often
indeed,
get the chance to kind of really reflect on these ideas.
indeed.
Um, and so it can force that time in your diary, because executives are often massively busy, and so it can force you to really take that time out to think properly about your situation. um
I agree. I mean, I'd also add we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, don't we? I mean, especially leaders in the corporate world. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be in a particular way. And
yes.
here, I think it's a partnership where you can sit with a coach and actually explore that. What is it? What's deep inside? Almost peel the layers of an onion and
Mm,
say, why am I doing this? And why
mm,
do I either keep self-sabotaging myself, or why do I not spend enough time reflecting on my strengths and I go straight to
yes.
the negatives, which
Yeah.
is a very common human thing. So I
Yeah.
think a coach can help more. And even for me as a coach, I find there are times that I would really like someone to coach me, because when you're in it, it's always difficult to see the wood from the trees. And it's so nice to have someone who's trained, equipped to be non judgmental, as you said,
Mm,
and
mm,
equipped to be able to hold the mirror up to you so that,
very much so.
to get you to think deeper. I think I think that's a real privilege of us being coaches to be able to do that. But
Yes.
also, I think for me as a coach, I have benefited from a coach myself.
Yeah. It's raised my self-awareness being
Yes,
coached as well,
yes,
really understanding, well, if I think and feel like this, what does that actually mean for the way in which I show up, or way in which I
yeah,
behave, the impact I have on others?
yeah,
Often we go through life with these blinkers on, don't we? And we just assume that everything we're doing is the right thing to be doing for us and for our teams, and maybe sometimes we could do it differently, and that might be okay. Yeah, it's really
yeah.
fascinating.
And when you're considering an executive coach, I'm just thinking of what my advice would be to
Mm,
someone.
mm,
And for me, there are a couple of things I would think about. One is, for me, well, what's important is chemistry. Like, you need to be able to trust the coach. Now, of course, there will be times you don't know the coach. So how do they create in the first meeting, even they create an atmosphere where you feel that you're being listened to? You talked about being listened to,
mm,
Sarah.
mm.
And are they listening to understand? Are they listening to judge? Are they listening to respond?
Yes.
um, and the other thing, I think that chemistry is important. The other thing I think it's important, and this might be moving into a common mistake people sort of jump into, is they often think, oh, my coach needs to know everything about my field. And I actually think it's most effective to have a coach who knows nothing about your
Yeah,
field.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, what else would you bear in mind?
Well, I think we get caught in this trap of, oh, well, I've been working in finance for 20 years,
Yeah.
so I need
Yeah.
someone with a financial background to be able to understand my needs. And actually, there is a time and a place for that, for
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
actually, a coach at their best is not guiding you, advising you, telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing in that arena. They're getting curious about the human being in front of them. And
Yeah.
actually, the least they know, therefore, about your work, your area, the bigger, the more open, the more curious a question they can ask,
Yeah.
and actually prompt some really different thinking, which
Yeah.
I think is some of the benefit of working with a coach who perhaps doesn't have the same background as you. And I would suggest speak to a few
Yeah.
before you decide.
Yeah.
Speak to someone who's been where you've been before, and speak to
Yeah.
somebody else who hasn't, who's got a completely different spin on things, because I think you'll be surprised at what you find out. But you touched on trust. I think that's massively important, and rapport. So
Yeah.
being able to turn up to your coaching session, shut
Yeah.
the door,
Yeah.
metaphorically or otherwise,
Yeah.
and just be you.
Yeah.
Warts and all. You don't. There's no performance in coaching.
Yeah.
You don't have to be somebody that you're not. And so thinking of it as, oh, another meeting, another reason why I have to just demonstrate my capability. That's not what coaching is at all. It's about exploration and
Yeah.
inquiry more than anything else. So I would say be open-minded to the type of conversation that you really need. Be honest
Yes.
with yourself,
Yes.
and find someone that can prod and poke and challenge and
Yeah.
listen and support and encourage, depending on what you need. So I would meet a few, have a few
Yeah.
conversations before you
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the other thing I find is, common mistakes when choosing a coach and avoiding them. And this is my view. So, Sarah, you might have a different view. So it'll be really interesting. Um, I I do think coaching is one of the most amazing um, things you can do to invest in yourself,
Mm,
But in order to do that correctly, how do you find a coach that you can trust, for example? How do you find a coach who's actually coaching, not
mm,
mentoring, not telling
yes.
you what to do,
Yes.
is actually equipped to be the coach you need? And for me, and it's not the only way, but I do think because it's a non-regulated industry, it makes sense for you to look at their credibility. What have they
Yeah.
done? Do they have an accreditation with a coaching body like I don't know, the ICF, the EMCC, AFC, these are all coaching bodies that have moral and ethical standards, and anyone
Hmm.
who accredits with them is expected to hold on to that standard. I do feel it's quite important because unless I know you really well and I know you're a superb coach, how would you know that this
Yeah.
person is actually coaching? What do you think?
I agree. I definitely look for the credentials. I think also personal recommendation is really powerful.
Great
So,
point.
talking to someone who's had coaching, and they can share with you their experience, not
Yeah.
necessarily the detail of their conversation, but how it
No.
was maybe to work with Priya or to work with
Yeah.
Sarah. What did
Yeah.
it look and feel like?
Yeah.
I know most of my business is through personal recommendation.
Yeah.
So I think that's also important. And also I would say most coaches should offer you a free chemistry session,
Yeah.
where you can actually try it out before you
Yeah.
buy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
have a mini coaching conversation, and try it on for size, see what it
Yeah.
feels like a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anything else that people should avoid when choosing a coach? I mean, one thing we said was, yeah, don't look for a coach who's an expert in your field, because I don't think that you're really looking for a coach who knows coaching, not necessarily an expert. Out of interest, without taking any names because of confidentiality, what's the most random role or a person you've coached who has nothing to do with the kind of work you do, Sarah? Out of interest.
Oh my gosh. um I've had a British Army major.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Look at that. Yeah,
Very, very different from where I'm sat, the seat that
yeah,
I'm sat on.
yeah,
Who else? I've had a marketeer,
yeah,
a lawyer,
yeah, indeed.
a whole range of people.
Yeah.
How about
My
you?
mine, I would say an astrophysicist,
Oh,
believe it
wow.
or not.
Yeah.
An astrophysicist, a cardiologist. I've coached yeah, lawyers like you, and a lot of people in the corporate world in different places, but I think it's quite interesting when somebody who is an expert in their field, but then what we are looking at is helping them think through it. It's their
Yeah.
expertise that
Yeah.
matters rather than our expertise in their
Absolutely.
field,
Yeah.
which I think is a great way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Uh, mm,
The way sometimes I describe it to people is that the coach is the expert in the process, in terms
yes,
of they've got
indeed.
all the tools and techniques in their bag to help you to do your best possible thinking.
Yeah,
But you, as the coachee, are the expert in your life, your
totally,
role. And that's
totally.
what you bring to the conversation. And the coach should, you know, not influence that in any shape or form.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. I mean, I've had so many coaching sessions where, again, and this is the beauty of coaching and learning how to coach well, because in my initial days, I could have been, oh, I wonder what I would have done when I reflect back
Mm,
on a coaching
mm,
session. Would I have done the same thing?
mm.
Now I don't even think about it because I know that it doesn't matter what I would have done at all, because yes, I would have, but I am a different person to the person being coached. And
Yes,
what's important is what feels right to that person in that
I agree.
moment.
I
Um,
agree entirely.
so we've had a really lovely conversation on this, Sarah, and I'm sort of reassured to know that both of us think very similarly, which is
We
great.
do.
But what would your key takeaway be from this conversation?
Um, yeah, so do a little bit of homework on
Mm,
your coach, and try before you buy, I think.
mm,
And what I often say to people is, you know, if go with your gut, because we can think too hard and cognitively about this, and
mm,
actually it's a very relational interaction. If the
mm,
relationship isn't there, then
mm.
you'll probably do more transactional type of work as opposed to
Yeah,
transformational. So
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
How about you?
Mine would be if you're the kind of person who's been in their comfort zone. I know that the comfort zone is a lovely place, but nothing grows there.
Mm,
So, in order for you to grow, I think having a coach is really powerful. So, if you want to just stretch yourself, just grow, even if there is nothing, as Sarah said earlier, there is nothing wrong as such, there is no challenge you're holding,
mm,
but you want to push yourself, coaching could be a wonderful, wonderful investment in yourself. So have a think about it. But as Sarah said, think about all the practical things, the relation, try before you buy, look at people's, background credentials, look for personal recommendations. I hope you find this useful. Thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you,
yeah.
Sarah.
Thank you.